You're not ignoring her. You're doing something far more powerful, something most people don't understand. You're creating space, a void. And in that space, something incredible happens. She starts to feel your absence. At first, it's subtle, a fleeting thought, a glance at her phone just to see if you've reached out. But as the silence stretches on, curiosity turns to questioning. Why hasn't he messaged me? Did I misjudge him? Was he really as invested as I thought? This isn't about playing games. It's not manipulation, it's self-mastery. Because a man who knows his worth doesn't chase, he moves with quiet confidence. He doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't waste energy proving himself to someone who hasn't earned it. Most men panic when things feel off. They overcompensate, texting, calling, pleading. But a man of value, he knows the truth. Scarcity creates value. People don't appreciate what they never fear losing. And the moment she starts questioning what she had with you, that's when everything starts to change. You're not ghosting her, you're teaching her to value your presence. And that's a lesson best learned in silence. When something is always there, always accessible, it fades into the background. It becomes routine, expected, almost invisible. But the moment it's gone, everything changes. She starts to notice the absence, the empty space where your presence used to be, the texts that don't come, the comfort that suddenly feels distant. And that's when the mind does something fascinating. It starts to reevaluate. A Stoic man doesn't chase. He doesn't force himself where he's not appreciated. He doesn't beg for attention, hoping to be seen. Instead, he steps back and allows space to do what words never could. Silence isn't weakness, it's a statement, a powerful, undeniable shift. It forces a reset, a recalibration. It makes her think, reflect, and most importantly, feel. Because when you're no longer constantly available, she's left with one thing: the reality of life without you. And that's when the reprogramming begins. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Right now, her thoughts have been shaped by the assumption that you'll always be there. But when you step away, when you hold back, she's forced to repaint that picture. And suddenly, you're not just another guy. You're a man of value, a man who isn't freely given but must be earned. The more accessible something is, the less we desire it. That's just how the human mind works. The things we don't have, the things just out of reach, those are the things we chase. This applies to money, success, love, and yes, even you. When something is always within reach, it starts to feel ordinary, routine, expected. And when something feels expected, we stop appreciating it. But the moment it becomes scarce, its value skyrockets. This is why, when you stop initiating, when you remove yourself from the equation, something powerful happens. You activate a psychological trigger. Scarcity creates value. Suddenly, you're no longer just an option. You're a loss. And people don't truly recognize the worth of something until they feel it slipping away. The Stoics understood this well. They practiced voluntary deprivation, going without luxuries to remind themselves of their true strength. Seneca would sleep on the floor, wear rough clothes, and eat the simplest meals. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to prove to himself that comfort wasn't a necessity. And right now, by stepping back, you're doing the same. You're proving that your worth isn't tied to her validation. At first, she may not notice, but then something shifts. She starts replaying old conversations, remembering the way you made her feel, checking her phone just to see if you've reached out, wondering why you haven't. And that's when the realization hits her. You were never ordinary. She just never had to consider what life felt like without you. Until now. Women are intuitive. They can feel the difference between a man who is centered in his own world and one who is secretly waiting for her validation. And here's the truth most men don't understand. The one who needs less controls more. A man who is emotionally self-sufficient, who doesn't chase, who isn't desperate for attention, he's intriguing. He's rare. He stands apart from the noise of men constantly trying to prove themselves. When you withdraw, you're not just pulling away. You're shifting the entire power dynamic. Now, she's the one wondering. She's the one checking her phone. She's the one feeling that unsettling sense of uncertainty. And here's the best part. You didn't force this feeling onto her. You didn't beg, plead, or try to convince her of your worth. You simply stepped back. You allowed space for her own emotions to do the work. Because that's how attraction actually works. Desire needs distance. Attraction needs mystery. When something is always there, always predictable, it blends into the background. But the moment it becomes scarce, it suddenly becomes important. And when you stop making yourself overly available, when you stop responding to every little thing, she starts questioning everything she once took for granted. That's the silent power shift. And the moment it happens, she's no longer the one in control. You are. Before, she assumed you'd always be there. She never had to question it. Your presence was a given, something she never had to think twice about. But now your absence forces her to reassess. The good morning texts? Gone. The instant replies? Disappeared. The comfort of knowing you'd always reach out vanished. And in that empty space, something powerful happens. She starts to feel the loss. At first, it's just a passing thought. But then, as the silence stretches on, that thought turns into a feeling. A nagging, unfamiliar discomfort. A void she wasn't prepared for. This is how emotions get rewired. Not through arguments, explanations, or chasing, but through experience. Through absence. Because a Stoic man doesn't beg to be valued. He becomes valuable. Not through words, but through his actions, his discipline, and his ability to walk away when necessary. And the moment she realizes that your presence was never guaranteed, that's when she stops assuming and starts appreciating. So, before we dive into lesson number 5, we'd like to take a moment to thank you for staying with us halfway through this video journey. In every moment, we can learn and grow. And the fact that you are here listening and reflecting with us is a tremendous gift that I cherish every minute. To help us spread these valuable lessons to even more people, please hit the like and share buttons for this video. Each share is a small but meaningful act, much like the timeless lessons Stoicism offers. Let's continue exploring and embracing these everlasting pieces of wisdom together. Once again, thank you for your continued support. She thinks she's choosing to miss you. She thinks it just happened, that one day out of nowhere, she started feeling your absence. But that's not how the mind works. You didn't force this feeling, but you created the space for it to grow. Absence isn't just about not being there. It's about what happens in the void you leave behind. It's about the emotions, the memories, the unanswered questions that start to take root in that empty space. When a pattern breaks, the mind scrambles to make sense of it. She was used to the routine, you always being there, always reaching out, always making an effort. Now, that rhythm is broken. The comfort she never questioned has suddenly disappeared. And that's when the reprogramming begins. She starts wondering why she's thinking about you more now than when you were around. Why the silence feels louder than words. Why, for the first time, she's questioning if she miscalculated your worth. And that question alone That's the seed of longing. Because once doubt enters the mind, it doesn't just go away. It grows. Before, she didn't think twice about your presence. Your texts, your compliments, your energy, it was all just there, like background noise she had grown used to. She didn't have to earn it, didn't have to wonder if you'd show up, because you always did. Without realizing it, she relied on you. Not consciously, not deliberately, but in the way we all depend on little things that feel certain, predictable, safe. But now, that rhythm is broken. That steady stream of validation, gone. That familiar feeling of knowing you'd always reach out, disrupted. The brain hates disruption. It craves what once felt familiar. When something predictable is suddenly taken away, the mind panics. It starts searching, wondering, craving. Now, she finds herself checking her phone, scanning through old messages, waiting for a notification that never comes. She notices the silence in a way she never noticed your presence. She asks herself why it feels so different. Why she suddenly feels this void where there was once certainty. And that's when it hits her. The very thing she once took for granted, now she wants it back. The absence of warmth makes the fire feel even hotter. You never truly appreciate the sun until you've shivered through a long, cold winter. You don't crave water until your throat is dry with thirst. And in relationships, the same principle applies. When something is always present, it blends into the background. It becomes part of the routine, familiar, expected, even overlooked. But the moment it's taken away, its value skyrockets. That's the power of contrast. She may not have noticed the way your presence made her feel until it's gone. She may not have thought twice about your attention, your effort, your consistency, until she's suddenly left without it. And now, instead of being something she casually received, you become something she longs for. Because contrast sharpens awareness. The absence of what once felt secure forces a person to see it clearly for the first time. And now, with every passing day of silence, every moment where she expects a message that never comes, she's feeling it more and more. The warmth she never acknowledged, now it's undeniable. The security she once ignored, now she craves it. And this is the secret most men miss. The ones who give too much, too often, too freely, unknowingly make themselves invisible. But the man who understands contrast, he never has to demand attention. He becomes impossible to ignore. Before, she saw you as predictable. You were always there, always reaching out, always available. She never had to wonder how you felt, never had to question where you stood, because you made it obvious. Too obvious. But now you're a mystery. You've pulled back, you've stopped giving out your attention so freely. And suddenly she doesn't know what to think. The man she once thought she had figured out is now unreadable. Uncertainty is powerful. It creates tension. It sparks curiosity. It makes her rethink everything she once assumed about you. Did I misjudge him? Was he ever really chasing me? Or was I just imagining it? What if I was wrong about him? That shift in perception? That's everything. It's the difference between being taken for granted and being desired. Between being just another guy in her orbit and being the one she suddenly can't get off her mind, because people only chase what feels just out of reach. And now, instead of being the one pursuing, you've become the challenge, the one who must be earned. And that changes everything. Most men panic when a woman pulls away. They text, they call, they overcompensate, doubling down on effort, thinking that if they just remind her of their worth, she'll come back. They believe that if they can just talk their way back in, everything will go back to how it was. But that's not how attraction works. Chasing only reinforces her decision to distance herself. It tells her she was right to pull away because now she sees you as reactive, not composed. As a man who is emotionally unstable, not grounded, but a Stoic man, he remains unfazed. He doesn't rush to fill the silence. He doesn't let anxiety dictate his actions. He understands something deeper, that time is his ally, not his enemy. He doesn't beg. He waits. Because he knows the truth. Absence creates longing, and longing creates value. A wise man doesn't fear distance. He knows that the longer she sits with the silence, the more her mind does the work for him. Every unanswered text, every moment she expects a call that never comes, it all builds tension, and tension creates attraction. This is why patience is a weapon, because the man who can wait wins. This isn't about playing games. It's not about tricks, manipulation, or trying to win some battle of emotions. It's about leadership. A Stoic man doesn't react, he sets the tone. He doesn't adapt himself to fit someone else's standards, he creates his own. He doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't beg, he walks away with dignity. He doesn't try to prove his worth, he embodies it. And that's what separates him from the rest. Most men scramble for validation, hoping to be noticed, hoping to be chosen. But a man of value? He chooses himself first. He moves with purpose, stands firm in his beliefs, and never negotiates his self-respect. And here's what happens when you do that. People take notice. Because true power isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the kind of presence that lingers, that sticks in the mind, that makes someone feel something real. And when she finally realizes what she had, it won't be because you explained it to her. It won't be because you pleaded for her to see it. It will be because she felt it. And once she does, she'll understand one thing with absolute clarity. You were never just an option. You were always the standard. A wise man moves with purpose, not desperation. He doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't beg for attention. He earns respect through presence, discipline, and quiet strength. Because true power isn't loud. It's not found in endless effort to prove your worth. It's in knowing when to step forward and when to step back. Absence, when used with intention, speaks louder than words ever could. You don't have to convince anyone of your value. They'll feel it when you're no longer there. So remember this. Your presence isn't something to be taken for granted. It's a privilege, one that must be earned. Not everyone deserves your time, your energy, or your heart. Choose wisely. Make it count. Thanks for being with Stoic Heart on this journey today. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts or suggestions for future topics, so drop a comment below. See you in the next video.